Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin with new signs of trouble in Canada's fight against COVID-19. Despite repeated public health warnings and efforts to slow the resurgence, infections are still spiking in Canada's biggest provinces. Over the past 24 hours, nearly 900 people in Quebec tested positive. That's the biggest jump since early May. Ontario also reported a major spike today. 491 new cases. There were 51 new cases in Manitoba and 15 in Saskatchewan. Out west, the most recent daily case numbers are from Friday, when there were 153 cases in Alberta and 98 in BC. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer is urging everyone to reduce our contacts and take every measure possible to help slow the spread of the virus before it gets out of control. But some people just aren't getting the message. In Ontario, for the second weekend in a row, police were called in after hundreds of people ignored warnings and gathered for a car rally. Global's Katherine Ward has tonight's top story.
It's just a recipe for people getting sick or people getting injured or killed.
Police and politicians had a heads up an unsanctioned car rally was a possibility in Wasaga Beach, Ontario this weekend, but they had no idea how many people might actually attend. Saturday, they got their answer.
There was smoke shows, squealing tires, people walking with cameras in amongst the traffic on the roads. There was literally no control of the situation.
For officers, it was a flashback to 1 week ago when another unauthorized car rally took over the parking lot outside a movie theater in Ancaster. They say organizers of that event could face a $10,000 fine, but so far, no one has been charged. Back in Wasaga, tire marks on the road are just some of the evidence of what took place. Officers handed out several tickets for driving offenses and for breaking the pandemic gathering limits imposed by the province. At one point, the town was effectively shut down and no one was allowed to enter unless they were a resident. Police say for large rallies like this one, it's a challenge to hold every single person accountable.
It's difficult for us to get a handle on it because just the sheer numbers. I mean, it's a takeover mentality, and they take over and overwhelm law enforcement with just sheer numbers.
Doctors say if meetups like this continue, it will only make the fight against COVID-19 more difficult.
We know this far into the epidemic to put on a mask, to spread apart by 2 meters, to wash your hands, to avoid large crowds. And if we sort of think about that checklist, we sort of see some significant errors on many of those points with that gathering yesterday.
What experts say they know is that simply telling people to follow the rules won't necessarily work. They say a lot more effort and resources needs to be put into crafting messages that stick.
The most effective way for people to follow the rules is if the rules are sort of given to the people over the long term so that they're able to sort of absorb them, internalize them.
Rather than point fingers and play the shame and blame game, I really think that we need to take a step back and reevaluate how we're communicating these messages, the modes of communication.
Until that happens, police say they plan to do everything in their power to find those responsible, so rallies like this continue to be discouraged.
This investigation isn't over just because the cars have left Wasaga Beach. This will be ongoing of people examining video and identifying drivers and trying to figure out who the ringleaders are.
Katherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.